everybody, and welcome to In This Corner of the Podcast 128 with boxing's biggest names, boxing's biggest stories, boxing's biggest fights, greatest memories and moments. We dissect, edify, and break down all of it, and we do it with boxing writer, author, CompuBox counter, historian, Mr. Lee Groves. How you doing, Lee?
Doing well, Smitty. And how about yourself?
Good. A lot of stuff to get to. We're going to get to some reviews and previews, and of course, the real full throttle of the show will be when we get to the segment breaking down this weekend's fantastic fight card. At least it looks that way on paper. Might be the card of the year when you look at what we're going to look at. But we'll be focusing on that main event with Terence Bud Crawford going up in weight, going for another world title, this time at $154 against Israil Madrimov. Is it Madrimov or Madrimov? What do we want to call him?
I call him Madrimov.
Madrimov. That's what we'll go with. And so we'll get to that. We'll have our usual suspects breaking it down. Tommy Yankello from the World Class Boxing Gym, and former two-time 140-pound world champion and Regis Prograis, who has his own big fight coming up, doesn't he?
He does. He's going to be fighting Jack Catterall across the pond.
Yeah.
It's very much a crossroads fight, considering Regis's performances against Soria, the loss to Haney. It's been a while since he's been over in the UK. The Josh Taylor fight was the last time.
Yeah.
So he really is confronted with really a day of reckoning.
Yep, lot to talk about. And speaking of talking, we'll get to it as you have a plethora of reviews to get to.
Well, the main event of last Saturday's card on DAZN saw Claressa Shields make even more history. She knocked out Vanessa Lepage-Joannis in the second round, her first KO victory in nearly 7 years. And not only did she win the WBC heavyweight title, but also the vacant WBO light heavyweight belt, meaning that she now has won widely recognized world titles in 5 weight classes. I said on the phone before the fight that if the gap in talent was large enough, Claressa would probably score the knockout, and that's exactly what happened. My guess is that she will choose to remain at heavyweight or at 175, but if she does so, the choice of opponents they're rather limited. And to me, the most attractive fight would be a rematch with Franchon Crews-Dezurn, who currently holds the WBC super middleweight title and was a former undisputed champion at 168. They fought each other in their respective professional debuts in 2016. And though Shields won 40-36 on all the scorecards, it was a pretty competitive bout. It certainly would be more competitive now. But since the two are best friends, I think it's going to take a lot of money to make that fight happen. So what are your thoughts on Claressa's performance last weekend, the knockout, where she is in her career? What do you think?
I think, and you did predict that she probably would get a stoppage, and it's because of the weight situation. I mean, she looked a lot bigger than her opponent, but the disparity in ability, there's just no competition at that weight. There's just nobody that can compete. There's no gals that big that are any damn good, for lack of a better term. And the reason I think she might get a few stoppages is because of that disparity in talent and in skill, but also the fact that, she's got a frame there, and now that she's put on a little bit of a weight with aging and what have you, and because that she has that foundation and she's setting down on her shots a little bit more, just the sheer weight that she's gained and the fact that she knows how to let her damn hands go as good as anybody in the history of women's boxing, that's why she's going to get some more of these. If the women at that weight were better, than they are, then she probably would, it would be more competitive. She probably would still win, but they would be decisions. So it is what it is. It's not her fault
No.
that there's just not the competition. I think how we settle all this, we get her on the show. We get Mark Taffet, her promoter there and manager, on the show, and we talk to them. She deserves a lot of credit. I don't necessarily enjoy watching her fight that much, but damn, the results are what they are, and she deserves a lot of credit. And she will certainly, in the very near future, if she ever quits, she'll be hanging out with us in Canastota.
No doubt about it. Yeah, if she's not the best female fighter of all time, she's certainly in the top 5. She stuffed a lot of credentials into a pretty small number of fights. And by the way, there was a pretty big upset on the undercard of this fight, as Julian Smith, nicknamed the Quiet Storm due to his being deaf, scored a 10-round split decision over former world title challenger Shojahan Ergashev. Smith's knockdown of Ergashev in round 5 turned a potential majority draw into a victory for him. And this is Smith's second straight upset. He stopped the previously undefeated Orestes Velasquez in February. So at age 33, this Quiet Storm is getting quite loud.
Yeah, I'm a Smith, but I've never been called the Quiet Storm as you move on.
That is true. So we move on to a fight card that was streamed earlier in the day on ESPN Plus in the US and on TNT Sports in the UK. And in the main event, 40-year-old Derek Chisora scored a 10-round unanimous decision over 38-year-old former secondary titleist Joe Joyce. Chisora scored the fight's only knockdown in round 9, and now he's won 3 of his last 4 fights, while Joyce has suffered his 3rd loss in his last 4 fights. Wasn't that long ago that we were talking about of Joyce as being a genuine threat to be a heavyweight champion, but that's all done after 2 losses to Zhang and this one to Chisora. Both men said after the fight that they will continue on, and I know that you disagree.
Yeah, I mean, they looked horrible to me. It looked like 2 old dinosaurs going at it. I mean, I kept wanting to speed up, the speed up the video because it was so pathetic. I know it made for a good fight, and you boxing guys that love everything boxing. I'm not saying necessarily you, but it's, I mean, they're heading towards Palookaville if they keep fighting. Entertainment's one thing, and they provided that. And they both have had good careers, and I think they both made some serious money given the money that is made now. So for me, being where I'm at, I would like to see both of them get the hell out of Dodge and the boxing ring and go on into something else. But it certainly, they gave it all. Boy, they gave it all in there. But, we know what happens when you continue to give it all over a long period of time, especially heavyweight division. We know what the future holds.
And most times it's not good. So now we move on to the undercard of the big fight card that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the show, pretty much. And while the next 2 segments will be devoted to the main event between Madrimov and Crawford, the undercard is absolutely stacked.
Best card I've seen in a while, or on paper, right?
It really is. One reason is that usually pay-per-view shows consist of 4 fights, but here there's 6. And second, these 5 undercard fights feature attractive matchups that promise a lot of action and maybe some.
And I think different promoters, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've talked about, we're solutions oriented here, is that one of the things that boxing can do to help itself is to have more cooperation amongst the promoters. And if you take a look at the BoxRec breakdown of this card, there's like 6 or 7 different promoters that are in play here. And, the old saying, if you call them, they will come. Well, if you bring the big money in boxing, the promoters will come and they will work together. But the pay-per-view portion begins with a scheduled 10-round lightweight bout between Olympic gold medalist Andy Cruz and 37-fight veteran Antonio Moran. Now, Cruz's talent has been such and is such that only after 3 professional fights, he is rated 7th by the IBF, 8th by the WBA and WBC, and 15th by the WBO. And I think that talent will once again be on display as he picks apart Moran and wins on points. Next up is a scheduled 12-rounder between David Morrell and Radivoje Kalajic for the vacant WBA title at 175. That's the secondary belt. Morrell is the former secondary WBA titleist at 168, and he is one of the sport's most explosive punchers. While Kalajic is rated 4th by the WBA, he has 21 knockouts in his 29-2 record. Kalajic is a proven puncher at 175, but he has defensive issues that I think Morrell will exploit. I'm predicting a KO victory for Morrell between rounds 4 and 8, but I think when we get to that point, it will be a fun fight to watch.
By the way, the early odds, Andy Cruz minus 2,000 versus Antonio Moran plus 850, and Morrell, the fight you just mentioned, minus 3,000. How do you say that? How do you say it?
Radivoje Kalajic.
There, you did great. He's plus 1,000. I can't even say his name, so I can't bet on him for an upset. And I wouldn't anyway, considering the fact that Morrell is one of my favorite fighters to watch. Unfortunately, we don't get to see him enough, but keep going.
That's true. The next fight is a scheduled 10-rounder between undefeated heavyweight knockout artist Jared, the real Big Baby Anderson, and once-beaten knockout artist Martin Piccoli. This is a crossroads fight for both guys. Anderson, who is rated in the top 5 in 3 organizations, he'll be stepping up the quality of his competition. And Piccoli, who is rated 1st by the WBA and 6th by the WBC, is the younger brother of former cruiserweight champion Ilunga Makabu. Piccoli is a very big dude. He's 6'6". He's averaged 285 in his last 4 fights. Anderson is 6'4" and has averaged 245. However, Piccoli doesn't have good defense. And not only is Anderson younger by 7 years, he's also much quicker and he's very accurate. I see Anderson winning by TKO in this fight, but it should be a fun watch.
Yeah, he's a minus 195. Piccoli is a plus 155.
And then after that, the second heavyweight big baby on this show will perform, and that's Jarrell Miller. He calls himself Big Baby before Jared Anderson came along. He will be fighting former 3-belt heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz Jr. in a scheduled 12-rounder. Ruiz is returning to the ring for the first time in nearly 2 years, while Miller is coming off a punishing 10th-round TKO loss to Daniel Dubois last December. When Ruiz was at his best, he had really quick hands, he had sneaky power, but what does he have now? We don't know. He'll be 35 pretty soon, and he's got a lot of ring rust. The numbers suggest that Ruiz is the much better fighter defensively, and I see Ruiz winning on points.
And he's a minus 350 to Miller's plus 260.
Yeah, sounds about right. Finally, Isaac Pitbull Cruz will defend his WBA 140-pound belt for the first time against southpaw power puncher Jose Valenzuela. And the most striking aspect of this fight is that Cruz is 5'4" and Valenzuela is 5'10". Valenzuela has the height and reach to box at long range, but does he have the temperament and the discipline to do so for 12 rounds? I'm not sure about that. And once Pitbull draws him into a firefight, I do think that the defensive issues that led to his being stopped by Edwin De Los Santos nearly 2 years ago, they will resurface. I'm picking Pitbull by TKO.
Who's a minus 425, Valenzuela plus 310. Short guys rule, baby. And Cruz gets the stoppage as we stop for just a break. And when we come back, we will be talking about the main event, Terence Bud Crawford versus Madrimov, buck 54, another world title opportunity, another weight class for Bud, but against a guy who, at least to these eyes, looks pretty damn good. What does Tommy Yankello from the world-class boxing gym think? We'll find out right after this.
I got 2 options. Option 1, I can accept defeat. option too. I could get up. I could get tougher. I could get faster. I could get stronger. And then I go get mine. I made my choice. Have you made yours?
Back on In This Corner of the Podcast, 128, and joined by one of my favorite guests, one of our favorite guests, when it comes to knowing the intricacies and outricacies, which isn't even a word, of the sweet science from the world-class boxing gym. Tommy Yankello is here. Tommy, how you doing?
Great. How are you guys?
We're pretty good, and we're excited. This card this weekend, we've gone over it in segment one, is a fantastic fight card, but we're going to focus on that main event, of course, with Terence Bud Crawford and Israil Madrimov. Bud going up in weight for yet another world title, this time at $154, perhaps an audition for a mega showdown with Canelo Alvarez. That would probably be next May. First off, what are your thoughts on Madrimov with what you've seen from him?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a real challenge for Terence Crawford. I think that he has a real amateur pedigree, extended amateur background, has some really experience in the amateurs, and he's developed as a pro rather quickly. I mean, he got 10 fights and he's a world title holder. So he's got an off rhythm kind of style where he's kind of can be awkward, where awkward can be difficult, for a lot of boxers. And I think he's explosive. I think he's got some, he has a sneaky hook and he has a sneaky overhand right. He explodes and he uses angles. It's got some really good footwork as well. I mean, there's some things I see, though, that I think that are going to get exposed as well, though.
One of the things the main thing I see, even though he does have the good footwork, is his balance, and he seems to come in leaning forward, looking away, trying to be cute. I see a lot of susceptibility for uppercuts, him being hit with uppercuts from Crawford.
Exactly. That was what I was going to get to. Those are the things that I see that he's going to be susceptible to exactly the things you just said. And I think that he reaches at times, he leans at times, he explodes, but he leaves himself open when he explodes. It's not a real tight explosion. It's more like, he really spreads his hands out and he'll come with looping shots where, he leans forward at the same time. And, when he jabs, I think a lot of times he goes and he jabs to the body and he really overreaches and stuff. And it's sort of like when Errol Spence reached with the jab to the body with Crawford, and he was able to come right back with a counter left, and right back with a right. He knocked him down with a jab in the first time he knocked Errol Spence down. That was off of Spence leaning with the jab, and I seen Madrimov doing the same thing. So those are some of the things that I think. And I think that he has good footwork. He's talented with his footwork, but I think that he makes angles, but he makes angles a lot of times from too far away. They're not in tight where you make an angle and now you disappear and you're in a position to counter the guy. I think that, he's fought some guys that haven't been able to expose him making those angles from too far out.
Yeah, I got exactly what you're talking about. I think about how Chocolatito and even a Duran would make those maneuvers, but they would be on the inside closer. Right. And setting up counters. You mentioned something before we started the interview, something that I know you and I are really keen to, is when fighters, as they age, they're able to still be competitive and win because they slow things down. Because Crawford has all this experience and he's going up in weight all the way, he started at like 135. Now this is 154. Do you see that as being something that you expect, that he will slow things down, take Madrimov into deep water? Is that what you think what you would be advising Crawford to do? Slow it down, take your time. You're fighting a bigger, younger guy, and expose him?
Absolutely. I think that he uses his distance real well. He knows how to, like the old school guys, to be on that back foot and to be able to see everything and get that X is a game of inches. So you got your head on that back foot. It's like a baseball hitter when he's in the back of the batter's box and he has his head over his right leg. He has extra seconds to see the ball. Everything's in slow motion. So Crawford knows how to do that as well. And he knows how to stay behind his jab and stay and utilize that reach and probe and touch you and keep you off balance. So, and to always be able to touch you. So everything that you're trying to do has a little hesitation to it, So he slows you down as well. And he slows his body down. And I think that, the fight early on is where he's got to find his range. And that's where it will be dangerous for him. It's like, early in those fights against Sean Porter, he exploded a couple times. He caught Crawford. Kaviaskis caught him a couple times. Jeff Horn, those guys gave him some difficult time. But once he starts to really find his range and really starts to settle down and gauge the range a little better, he has always turned it up in those fights. And he ends up dominating those fights. And he's had trouble early on, and he ends up stopping those guys. He stopped Horn, he stopped Porter, he stopped Kaviaskis. So he knows, like, he's a great fighter. He's an all-time great, in my opinion. And I think that, he makes adjustments like the great Sugar Ray Leonard does, and all the other greats of, the guys that were all-time greats, that he knows how to really make those adjustments and settle in. And he makes an adjustment, and the fight can turn 360 degrees right in the mid rounds.
No, he does. Yeah. He does make adjustments. We're chatting with Tommy Yankello from the World Class Boxing Gym. Please check out his YouTube channel and all of his videos on social media. Even trainers out there, especially those of you with the dark glasses and the toothpick, I would advise you to take the dark glasses off, get rid of the damn toothpick, and listen and learn from Tommy as I flip to Lee.
Bud will be confronting several challenges here. First, he's almost 37 years old. Second, he hasn't fought in more than a year. And finally, he's moving up 7 pounds. How much do you think these factors will weigh on him when he faces Madrimov?
I think they could weigh on him somewhat, but I think he's won the biggest fight of his career. In a way, I feel like this could catapult him to even another level of greatness. Mm-hmm. The confidence coming off with such a dominant win against another guy that was considered, a great fighter in this era. And I think that confidence is another thing, and then being in the biggest stage and being able, and then sometimes people say that it could be a letdown because you just come off of the biggest fight of your career and you might have it down. But I think that he's had enough time to digest that and come back down and then get himself to come back up and, right. And want more greatness is what I mean by that. He's trying to, the Canelo fights are in the talk. So I don't think he wants to spoil that for himself. So I'm sure that he's very up for the fight, and to win the world title in his 4th weight class and chase another undisputed title, possibly at 154 pounds. So I think that he's going to be very up for the fight. And, but it is another weight class, 7 pounds. I think this is going to be a very stern test. I would think it's going to be a more stern test than the Spence fight, because I think Spence, in my opinion, as great as Crawford was that night, I think Spence wasn't at his best. So right. I think Crawford would have won the fight regardless if Spence was at his best, but I think that he would have fared better. And I think that this fight here is against a bigger, stronger, younger, undefeated guy that's very hungry, because, Crawford's coming to try to take his title. So just the mental thing, I think this guy is going to be as up for the fight as like a Spence was for that fight. I think it's the biggest fight of his career. And I think that, anytime you're fighting and defending your title, it should be the biggest fight of your career. But I think this has everything to win in this fight and not a whole lot to lose, because, he's chasing a pound for pound great and all-time great. So he's going to be extremely up with the attitude that he has nothing to lose. And, I think it's going to be a stern test for sure. I think it's a very tough fight for Crawford. My opinion, I'll give you my opinion when you want it, but.
Well, what is that opinion?
Well, I just think that it's going to be early on. I think it's going to be rough. I think that, that's where it could be dangerous for Crawford, but I just think he's going to make that adjustment. I think that Madrimov, like I said, I think he makes angles from too far away. I think also he when he's getting touched, a lot of times he covers up. He doesn't know how to really catch and shoot too much. So, and Crawford knows how to punch right in the mix. And I think the openings are there. I just think his defense is, I think it's just too open. I just think that Terence is just going to, I think he's going to thread the needle, man, like a surgeon. I think he's got surgical precision. And I just expect him to either stop him late in the 10th or 11th round, or maybe Madrimov, because he, like I said, all the things that we just talked about, that hunger and that mental, your mind can do amazing things. I think the determination, maybe he goes the distance, but I just think he'll lose, a unanimous decision. I think he may, maybe he wins 3 or 4 rounds in the fight, but I think it's an 8-4, 9-3 win for Crawford. I think the 4 rounds that he may lose will be in the first 6 or 7. Yeah. And then I think Terence takes the fight over and shows you why he's an all-time great.
Do you think this is a good audition for him? I'm not saying Madrimov is nearly in Canelo's landscape, area code, but in terms of the size of the man, his stature, what have you, is this a good rehearsal to tell Crawford, hey, this will be fine with Canelo? Or do you see it as that? Because that's how I'm hoping it'll be. I really like Crawford. He's been my number one guy for so many years. I think this is where you get and because if he really struggles, which I don't think he will because of the size, then maybe he would not want to do the ultimate. So is it a good rehearsal for the redhead?
I'm not sure about that, because Madrimov is he's more of an off rhythm, awkward kind of fighter where he does that. And I think that could cause difficulty. I think that's what Madrimov, if I was in his corner, I would tell him, like in his last fight, he looked like he was showing actually a little bit more methodical discipline in his kind of his attack, where I think he needs to be awkward in his fight. I think that's the things that have given Terence some problems in the past when guys make explosive, just awkward explosions in common, like Porter did it a couple times in the fight. Kaviaskas, Jeff Horn early on, some of the other guys that he faced. But I think that the styles are totally like Canelo is very he's not awkward. He's just good. You know what I mean? He's just good and technical, and he's methodical, and he knows how to slow things down as well. I just think that's a very good fight. I just think that this fight here is a different fight. It's kind of like
might even be a tougher fight for him than Canelo, because
I think that the Crawford Canelo fight is just a great fight. I think that you got 2 guys that are to me are really 2 of the best technical fighters in the game. I still give Crawford an edge on technicality and just overall skills over Canelo, but then you got Canelo's size, so that kind of trades it off and kind of makes it a wash. Where that fight is a very great fight. That's a great fight.
Well, we'll have time. We'll have time to talk about that. Before we let you go, why don't you take this last minute to tell everybody what's going on with Tommy Yankello, and give some props for your site and all the stuff you're doing on social media. It's yours. Go do it.
Okay. Well, I just released the Philly Shell a couple weeks ago as an instructional video. It's a 4-hour long video. It's just in great detail. And then I just released yesterday. I released the cross guard and reverse cross guard, covering the cross guard defense to George Foreman and Archie Moore and Ken Norton and Tim Witherspoon and Gene Fulmer was great at the reverse cross guard. One of the more awkward, more strangest defenses, but he knew how to make it work. So I covered that, and I really put some nice clips into those guys, performing the art. And, I got hopefully some big fights coming up with my heavyweight. Hopefully, we're supposed to fight August 21st on Pro Box TV. And after that, hopefully in October, we're hearing that we might be able to get on one of the cards in Saudi Arabia, maybe the Better Be Bivol undercard. So that's what we're hoping that's going to happen. And I think you guys are going to, be able to see Ivan for the first time on a big stage, and I think you're going to see that he's a true champion in the making. He has great potential. He's been in the ring. He's done tremendous things. A lot of people thought he beat Joshua in the Olympic Games. He was a silver medalist at the World Champs. He has an extended amateur background, and he's improved in the gym tremendously. We've just been on, because of promotional BS, we have been on the shelf for over a year now.
Wait a minute. Are you claiming, Tommy, that there's promotional BS in the sport of boxing?
Yeah.
Hey, have you watched any of the Olympics? You got to need a scorecard now to figure out even what gender people are. But I mean, have you checked? I haven't watched any of it. Lee's trying to keep me abreast of everything, and I say abreast very carefully with what's going on in the Olympics. But have you watched any of the Olympics?
I haven't. I have. I've been really. I wish I could say I did, but I have not.
Yeah. Well, listen, for all of you out there, really take a check. Tommy Yankello, all the stuff that he puts out, it's just brilliant stuff. And he slows it, talking about slowing it down. He slows it down. He explains it. He has some of his fighters, some of his students there. It's great stuff. That's why we have him on. If you are going over for Better Biev and Bivol, we need to know that, because that'll be one that will, of course, have you on breaking down, because that, in my opinion, will be one of the great fights in boxing to break down. He is Tommy Yankello from the World Class Boxing Gym. We'll take a break. We will come back with Regis Rougarou Prograis, a former champion at $140. He's got a big fight coming up against Catterall, and he's on here to talk about that and help break down Bud and Madrimov right after this.
I got two options. Option one, I can accept defeat. Option two, I can get up. I can get tougher. I can get faster. I can get stronger. And then I go get mine. I made my choice. Have you made yours?
Back in this corner, the podcast, 128. There's Lee Groves, and joining us now, the former two-time champion at $140. He hopes to win a world title again someday. He's got a big fight coming up against Jack Catterall. He is Rougarou. He is Regis Prograis. How you doing, champ?
All good, man. All good. Everything is good, always.
Tell me what's your schedule. You've been all over the place. I think you were like 20 minutes from me, and I never got to see you when you were here. I think you're back in Houston, and you're going to be jetting across the pond. Give me your schedule here.
Well, I don't know if you heard, but the fight is canceled.
What?
The fight has been canceled. Yeah, it's been canceled. It's postponed. Something happened. So yeah, I don't know if you know about it. Yeah, I'm back in Houston now. But I trained. I was in Vegas training. I came back here, and I don't know. I have some type of intuition. I literally just left Vegas. I was like, man, I'm ready to go back home. I'm ready to go back to Houston and start training again at my house, and with my trainers here. But I was in Vegas, and then I got the news yesterday, and then it came out today. It's on Twitter and stuff like that right now.
You know what? We've been taping all day. Yep. Well, geez, there you go.
Yeah,
they talk about breaking news. I did not know. Lee did not know. We've had Tommy Yankello on the show. We've been do you anything you want to say about that then, or what the hell you think happened? Was there an injury or to Catterall or?
They said from what I understand, Catterall got injured in training, and they go try to reschedule for the fall sometimes. That's what I heard.
And how does that affect you with a lot of time remaining on the year? And I know you got yourself looking in great condition. Do you want to have something in between or what?
For me, I would want something in between. My goal is to be a 3-time world champion. So I'd rather get back to the belts. I want something in between. That's what I would rather. I would rather get something in between. It's just a shame because I was in Vegas. Man, I was in Vegas on a crazy tough schedule, training all day. It was just boxing all day when I was just eating, sleeping, resting, and training and just watching boxing. I had one day off a week, and that was all. So I was just training all day long. And nobody sent me no camp money or nothing like that. I came out of my own pocket. I was in Vegas, and
you're
doing
in
everything.
Vegas in 115 degrees too.
Yes, it's over 100 degrees at nighttime in Vegas.
I know.
At
I know.
nighttime.
I'm not training for any
Yeah,
fights like you, but I'm in my garage with a sauna suit. I barely make 40 minutes and then I collapse. But I saw
yeah.
your video. Well, that's a damn shame. Now this leads
Yes.
to a question, because back in my day, and even way after me, with
Mhm.
fighters like yourself, great fighters, you could have tune-up fights. You could have 10-round fights. I mean, I know everybody's trying to maximize on money, but is there a way that your promotional team could just have a stay busy fight, something that you could have for 10 rounds in between? Or
For
is it
me,
better
for
that you
me,
just sit out?
I don't want to sit out. I do want to fight. I don't want to sit out. I'd rather fight. I mean, listen, I train every single day. I mean, when I'm in training camp, I definitely kick it up. I train about 3-4 times a day. But right now, I still train every day. So I'd rather have a fight. I'd rather have some type of stay busy fight, just something, because I mean, I've been doing all this stuff. I've been doing everything. I've been training in Vegas. I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do, and it just falls out like this. And like I said, it's not really a waste of time because I was in Vegas. I was training. I was doing real good out there, and I like to train out there. But it is a waste of money. I mean, I was out there. I spent money on flights. I spent money on getting my car, on rental cars, all that type of stuff, on lodging. And nothing. It's just like I did all that for nothing, and that's coming out of my own pocket. So for me, yeah, I would want to, have a stay busy fight. I wouldn't want to just keep waiting around because who says this might not happen again? And honestly, I felt that Jack didn't want to fight me. I mean, yeah, I had 2 bad performances, but he still knows it's still a dangerous fight. It's still, that person is still inside me. I still have that person that won the title again. He knows that person is still here, and that person is a dangerous person, besides the 2 bad performances I had, he knows it's still it still could be a dangerous fight. And, coming over there to man, and then I just agreed to it because at first, to be honest with y'all, with Matchroom, I turned down a lot of fights. They offered me a bunch of fights. I was like, no, I don't want that fight. No, because I want a big fight. I want a name fight. It doesn't make sense to fight somebody that's not a name. For me, I want a name fight because I want to get back to the belt. So as soon as they said Catterall, I said, yes, of course. I'll fight Catterall. I'll fight him in Manchester because I truly believe in myself. I know I can beat Catterall. Being in Manchester, being wherever it's gonna be, I know I can beat Catterall. So
Why not send
maybe
Eddie? Why not send Matchroom a damn bill for your expenses?
yeah, we gonna work on that. I'm definitely gonna work on that for sure. I'm definitely gonna work on that. Yeah, I mean, because listen, I was doing everything. I mean, doing yoga, doing all kinds of stuff out there. Eating right, eating healthy. I have a chef paying a chef to do all kinds of stuff for me, and it's like, like what happened? Like all this stuff, I just wasted all my money. I'm not gonna say I wasted my time because I was in Vegas. I was learning. I was training with the guys out there, so I did enjoy that. But I did waste a lot of money. So we gonna have to figure something out.
Well, I think the most important thing now, this would just be Smitty advice from somebody who's been around a long time, would be the most important thing now is the mental side of it, that you balance that you're in a good place, getting ready, you got yourself physically ready. Now you got to balance it. You got to taper down a little bit because you can't continue. If you don't have a fight, you can't continue to train that hard or you'll get stale. So that's where you got to balance it and make a decision on whether you fight, have a tune-up, or just, chill out, stay in shape, and wait till when do you go? I guess this just happened. Then what's the next thing you do?
Yesterday.
What's the next thing you do? Have a call with Eddie or what?
Yeah, well, so they have the fight, the fight we talking about, and I'm gonna go to that fight, and it is a Matchroom call, and I'm gonna go to that fight, and I would have to talk to Matchroom, I would have to talk to them and see what is next, see what's the plan, so that'll be my plan is to talk to Eddie at the fight.
All right. Well, with that, Lee, I know you had prepared a lot of questions about Catterall. This is news to all of us, but go ahead and work on Plan B there, Lee.
Well, Plan B, I guess. Do you have any preferences as to who you would want to fight? And maybe have something in September or something like that, since you're training for an August 24 date and your body is trained to that date. Do you think you could have something in close proximity to that?
Right. I mean, I think so. I would think so. Probably something around September. Who I want, like, I mean, my goal is to be back a champion again. So I would think, a Liam Power, that's an easy fight to make. We both are with Matchroom.
You
I
were
think
matched. You were scheduled to fight at one time, right?
that's what I'm saying. And for me, that's why, why should we make that fight? Because when I was the WBC champion, I was supposed to fight him. Now he pulled out the fight because he had an injury, but we were supposed to fight. Now he's the champion. I feel like, why not give me the opportunity to fight for the belt? Because I was giving you the opportunity to fight for the belt. So, it should be reciprocated. That's what I
that
think,
makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, and Tio was out there. I think Tio's fighting in September. He needs he needs an opponent. And Isaac Cruz, he's out there too. So he's fighting. Yeah, he's fighting.
You'll see him.
on
You'll
this
see him
card.
close up on Saturday night.
I'll see him close up on. He's fighting Saturday night. I'll see him close up on Saturday night. So it's a lot of different champions out there. I think I am right there. I feel like I do feel like with this though, something bigger should come. But and that's what I want, man. I want for me to go right back to the titles. That's what I want. That's my goal, is to be a 3-time champion. So like I said, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see, indeed. And now let's talk about the fight that you're going to be at on Saturday. What are your thoughts on Madrimov and Crawford?
Oh man, it's hard for me to put anybody above Crawford. That's the thing. I mean, I know Madrimov is, he's good. He's solid. And he's bigger. But I mean, the only thing I can think about if he beats Crawford is because of Crawford is getting older. And maybe just not as hungry. But I mean, Crawford is, amazing talent, amazing fighter. He's good. He can do so many different things in the ring. And it's for me, it's hard to go against somebody like Crawford.
What about the age? He's going to be 37 in September. He's going to be coming off a layoff over a year. That doesn't really matter with Bud, does it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The age, it does. I think it does. It's eventually age will catch up to everybody, So I'll have to see. He is coming off a long layoff, and the age is getting to him and stuff like that. But he doesn't take too much punishment, and he's still so dominant. The last fight was Errol Spence, and it was a real dominant performance. So like I said, I'll just have to see. I'll see how he performs. But it's for me, man. It's really hard to put anybody above Crawford, but just because of his skill level so high. He can do so many different things in the ring. He can switch. He's a boxer. He can punch. He's real strong. He just knows how to do so many different things. So it's hard for me to put anybody in front of him. So the only thing I feel like that will beat him is Father Time. And so we'll have to see Saturday if it actually catches up to him.
And who do you like and why?
Oh, I got Crawford for sure. I definitely got Crawford just because he's just so good. It's hard to, he beat he's undefeated, man. He's if I'm not mistaken, the only two-time undisputed champion, right?
Well, there's actually two more. There's Usyk and there's Inoue.
Oh, it is. You're right. Okay. So it's 3 of them in history. But 3 people in history.
3 of them on the men's side, yes.
3 people on the men's side, besides, of course, we have Clarissa Shields. But,
Of
3
course.
people on the men's side in history,
Pretty damn
it's
good.
hard to beat that.
You've seen
That's really
In the
Madrimov.
good.
four-belt era. In the four-belt era.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've seen Madrimov. You said he fought. I think you told me he fought somebody you knew.
He fought one of my friends. His name was Trouble, Ralph Mbakwe or something like that. I was there.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was actually at the fight. I think it was in somewhere in Texas or somewhere. But I was at the fight. Yeah, I was at the fight and stuff like that. He just, he's good. Trouble was tough, but he didn't stop him, but he beat him down, and it was a good fight.
Do you think this is Bud's been my number one guy for over 6 years, 7 years. I probably was the first one to call him that before any of the other so-called experts did. And one of the great things about him is even if he is aging, which he is, and even if Father Time is right there, the fact that he can slow down everything and work and rely on his IQ, I see this as being an interesting dress rehearsal. Even though Madrimov doesn't fight like Canelo, should Bud look good and win, should Canelo beat Berlanga in September, I think all roads lead to those two.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a big weight. It is a big weight difference, but a lot of people think on Bud's side they think he can beat Canelo. And I think it is a good fight because both of them are. it's a super fight to me because both of them are starting to get older, and it's like, why not make that fight? You know, people talking about it like, you might as well go ahead and make it. And then, you know, I know the guy Turkey, he wants to make that fight next.
Yeah.
So I really do see they fighting and
Who would
making
you
that fight
lean
happen.
towards right now if they were to fight? Who would you lean towards?
Canelo.
Yeah,
I
because
still
of
have
the
Canelo.
size and power. Yeah.
Just the size and power, you know. I
Okay.
mean, they make the weight divisions for a reason. The size and the power. I mean, I feel like Bud does have better skill, but just the size and the power of Canelo. And Canelo is not just a big power, you know, a big guy, just a power puncher. Canelo has skill. He actually, he has IQ and he has skill. So it's not like he's just a, you know, just this big guy and just a power puncher and Bud and just run around him.
Right.
No, Canelo has skill and he's bigger and he's stronger. So for me, I would lean more towards Canelo.
So before I let you go, because from a fighter's perspective, and you're a guy that's young but with an old school mentality, you know, you're a fighter of today. You've held the title twice. You're going for it again. There's a lot of criticism right now about the redhead. You know, I've covered his career, interviewed him so many times, like him a lot. But I think, how do you feel about the fact that he hasn't fought Benavidez, hasn't fought Morrell, picking and choosing? I know he deserves that, but would you caution him? Because I know if it were you, you would fight Benavidez or Morrell. So
yeah,
what would you say to Canelo, man to man, fighter to fighter?
Oh man, it's like it's hard because the people do want to see that. I want to see him fight Benavidez. I would want to see him fight Morrell, but he did earn the right to fight whoever he wants. You know, he does. I mean, the Berlanga fight, I feel like that's an easy fight for him. You know, maybe after that he'll have to fight Crawford or fight Benavidez, but he should. I mean, you should give the fans what they want to see. I think at the end of the day, you know, still the fans, the people that pay you, and should probably give the fans what they want to see. And then, you know, just test your greatness. You know, at the end of the day, test your greatness. But I'm not gonna say really test his greatness because he's great. You know, we can't say Canelo's not great. Canelo's great. You just look at his resume, you know, but you know, he is getting older now, and I guess maybe he wants easier touches. That's all.
Well, we're very sorry for you, but hope, you know, God has a plan. Hopefully it will work out. You know, this too shall pass, and things will turn out the way they're supposed to turn out. But we're glad that you turned up here with us today. Again, of course, Regis is picking Bud to win. Do you see it being decision or stoppage Saturday?
I see a stoppage.
Late stoppage?
I think late for sure. Late stoppage. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Madrimov could catch Crawford late also, but just like you said, Crawford has the ability to slow things down. He does know how to slow the fight down. Madrimov could come out and do all kinds of stuff, but he knows how just to, you know, just with all his antics and moving around. He's a strong wrestler on the inside. He knows how to slow some things down. But I think I can see a stoppage for Bud.
All right, when you get back to Vegas, I know you've got these trainers and you're going to all these gyms, but you got to bring your ass over to the Smitty Title Boxing Garage with my sauna suit and hang out with me for you could handle an hour and something. Literally, Regis, I was in there. I got this workout now that I do in my sauna suit, which is completely insane. I go for like 45 minutes. But oh man, it's hot here in Vegas. I know Houston's hot, but this is really hot. Man.
Yeah, I mean it's a different type of heat. You know, out here we sweat more, but out there it's just so dry. Like it's just like as soon as I got off the plane and those doors open, it's just the wind. It's like a blow dryer, like a hair dryer, just constantly blowing in your face like an oven. It's just so hot. I was like, oh my God, And then when you run, sometimes I run in the morning, sometimes I run at nighttime. In the day or at nighttime, and man, I was running, and then you run outside, and just like your mouth is just so dry. That's the thing. It's just all the time so dry. It's like, oh, it was terrible. But then I was there for 3 weeks, and my body started getting adjusted. At first, I was drinking. You know, I drink a gallon of water every day. In training camp, and then at first, like it had to be more than a gallon because I was just so thirsty. Yeah. But then eventually, my body started getting adjusted, and you know, I was good.
Yeah, and I like the maybe that's why I do so well in it. I love the blow dryer analogy. Nobody knows, no boxing analyst in the world knows more about blow dryers than me. We want to thank, listen, Rougarou, we hope you get the answers and get what you deserve. Thanks for joining us. We'll have an update on this next week, and enjoy the fights. Hopefully you get to spend some time with your family now.
Oh yeah, I'll be here for a little while, and I go to the fights and just enjoy myself, and then hopefully I'll know something next week. We'll see.
Okay,
right.
and then
Have
we're going to come back with our predictions as to what's going to take place with Crawford and Madrimov. We'll be back.
I got two options. Option one, I can accept defeat. Option two, I can get up. I can get tougher. I can get faster. I can get stronger. And then I go get mine. I made my choice. Have you made yours?
Back in this corner of the podcast. So we've heard from them on who they think will win. Now it's our turn to give our picks as to Crawford and Madrimov. And Lee?
Yeah. Well, I agree, Bud. This is a challenge. This is a challenge for him. Looking at film of Madrimov, he's got a challenge, not only in the ring, but out of the ring. Bud not only has the burden of being the betting favorite and defending his spot near the top of the pound-for-pound standings based on what Usyk has done and Inoue has done recently, he also has the burden of expectations based on that tremendous performance last year against Errol Spence. You and I know that Spence's erosion had a lot to do with how great Bud looked, but I'm sure others will expect him to rise to that same level once again. Given Madrimov's youth and his talent, I don't see that happening. I don't think the level of dominance is going to be the same. But at 29, Madrimov is at his chronological peak. And although he's built like Triple G and he fights a lot like Triple G, he modeled his style after Triple G. He has much better footwork than he does, and he's a much more dedicated body puncher than the future Hall of Famer. I think the fight will start slowly. Both are intelligent thinking guys. I think the fight will build slowly and warm up. I think that Bud will likely fight exclusively from the left-handed stance because Madrimov's jab is one of his best weapons, and that's one of the best ways to neutralize a good jab. I do think that the fight will be competitive through the first half, but I think going into rounds 9 through 12, Bud will have identified all the vulnerabilities he wants to see. He will take advantage of them, use that ring IQ, score enough points. I think that he will win pretty much like Tommy says, maybe 8 rounds to 4. He'll win a unanimous decision and win his 4th divisional championship and then bring on Canelo.
Yeah. So I think that everybody's kind of said it all. I think that there will be vulnerability from not only Madrimov, but, rust. Bud hasn't fought in over a year.
Yeah.
And although he stays in tremendous, and this is why I don't see an upset, he stays in tremendous condition. He is boxing through and through and through, and stays in the gym, stays at fights. The mindset is there. The body is there. Yes, he's aging. Yes, he's certainly not going to be the same Bud. It's going to start and may have already started to erode. But I think if he's smart, which he is, he'll slow things down, take him into deep water. How many KOs does he have in a row now? 10 or 11 or something like that? So
yeah,
will he get
11.
12? If he gets 12, it'll be in rounds 10, 11, or 12. It'll be late if he's going to, because this guy's young and strong and has great, footwork. So I think Bud wins, and he wins by either comfortable decision or late stoppage, like in round number 11. And again, I think this is a really good dress rehearsal for Canelo. I agree with what Tommy said about the styles are all different, but I just mean getting in there against a naturally bigger guy who's basically, you're looking at the same dimensions height, reach, and and even weight probably as Canelo would be. And you're looking at a guy that doesn't punch as hard, but has better footwork. So all good stuff. Bud prevails. And then, as you say, bring on the redhead who has to get past Berlanga in September. All right, what's next? What do we have? What do you have for me? It's looks like my note says Smitty Sez, or I think.
Yes, indeed. It is
All
the
right,
Smitty
let's
Sez
do it.
segment. And first topic, Saul Canelo Alvarez now has an opponent for September, and that is Edgar Berlanga, who is the WBA's #1 contender. This fight is the reason that Berlanga signed with DAZN and Matchroom in February. And while he has the fight he wants, and Canelo has the fight that he wants, it's the fight that nobody else wants. They would rather have Benavidez or Morrell standing across the ring from Canelo, but we're not going to have that anymore. Both have moved up to 175. What are your thoughts on Canelo's choice of opponent and the two men that he avoided in Benavidez and Morrell?
Canelo deserves the ability to have these options, but he's had them and done them and executed them for so long, with the Riders and the Munguias and now the Berlangas, that it's starting to reek of duckitis, that he's suffering from duckitis. And Canelo doesn't duck people, but he is now, for whatever the reason, he deserves to have had a few of them. So I say this, and I get it. He doesn't want to face somebody, the guys like you just mentioned, Benavidez and Morrell, because they're big and good and younger. So then fine. Then just cash out against the best fighter in all of boxing, and Crawford, if Crawford is successful and you're successful. Otherwise, if you keep doing this, you're going to get upset. Berlanga or somebody's going to pull off an upset. Canelo's not invincible. He's every bit as old as Crawford, even older body-wise with what he's gone through. So I understand it. I really like Canelo, but, and he's going to be first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greats, but enough is enough. So after this fight, make your decision, because the boxing fans, even his own fans now, even his own fans who bleed and pour sweat that's red, from him are upset because he's never ducked people. And now it's just clear. And when you start to couple things up, some of the decisions he's gotten in the past, for example, with Triple G and Lara, you could even throw in Trout. A lot of stuff has gone Canelo's way.
Right.
And so it's time for him to basically have the big fight against somebody that we all want to see, or just cash out, but not do it the way he's doing it. So I guess that's what I think.
All right. Well, moving on to the second subject. Manny Pacquiao took part in an exhibition against Japanese kickboxer Rukia Anpo. And although the official result was a 3-round draw, it was clear that Manny would have lost if this had been a sanctioned fight. The 45-year-old legend is currently in talks to return to the ring officially against secondary WBC welterweight champion Mario Barrios. But after this showing, there's no way that this fight should be allowed to happen. He was getting caught clean. He was buzzed a couple of times. He didn't look the same. Manny well. Do you think that he'll see the writing on the wall and think better of taking the Barrios fight? Or do you believe that he'll roll the dice and go ahead?
I wonder what Ali, if he were alive and well, would say to Manny right there, with me. That's me with both guys. Interesting. And the reason that I didn't plan those pictures to be like that, they just are like that, because Ali went on way too long. And already Manny has gone on way too long. He should have, even these exhibitions, they're not healthy. In other sports, they're fun and okay, but they're not healthy in boxing because what? You're getting hit in the head. And Manny's been hit in the head many, many times. He's been knocked out. He's been nearly beheaded by Marquez in their fourth fight. I love Manny Pacquiao. He's been, listen, you can make I don't even think it's an argument to say that that guy there, Manny, did a lot more than that guy there, Floyd. I can't believe now I'm using all these pictures to illustrate everything, that he did a hell of a lot more for boxing, I think, than Floyd Mayweather did during most of those years. Not that Floyd didn't do a lot and comprehensively beat Manny, although you could say that Floyd made Manny wait a long time.
Yes.
He's got to quit. He's got to get out of it. He doesn't need the money. And people could say, how do you know he doesn't need? Because he's got multiple houses. He's got any job he wants in the Philippines. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need anything. His legacy is, we're waiting on him in Canastota. Come, Manny, come. No, please get out before before we know what will happen. It will have a deleterious effect. It could already have. So there you go. He needs to call it a day.
Very much so. I agree with you there. And the third subject, a common theme of this show is the quality of today's boxing commentators. And one common gripe of yours is that too many of them yell and scream instead of calling the action. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, when you're calling a fight, when there's a big shot, a big right hand by whomever, right?
Right.
Tremendous jab by Mayweather. You're calling punches, whether it's a left hook, an overhand right by Triple G, an
Body
uppercut, anything. But I haven't figured out this punch that all the announcers today call, that this punch that they call, oh, what is, oh, is that a punch or is that just a yelp? That sounds like something I would say to a bear in the woods, oh, get the hell out of here, or let me get the hell out of here. But
yeah,
rather these guys and gals doing it today, I know they're caught up in what a lot of their lame ass producers are telling them to do. The young producers of today who think that it's all about, and UFC started a lot of that with, and maybe they didn't, maybe boxing even did it before, but where you want to see the commentators scream and yell and throw off the headsets. If that happens organically, I'm all for it. But you know what? I never saw Howard during Down Goes Frazier, or Al Michaels, and Do You Believe in Miracles, or even Lampley with It Happened. And all three of those are statements by the commentators. They didn't lose focus. They didn't become just a self-serving fan. They kept in composure, and they said something dramatic or emphatic to go with the moment. And I think, all kidding aside, the announcers could really learn from that to simply, don't get out of sorts. Don't become a fan. They're sitting behind you, and they're watching and listening to us all the fights. There was a couple of fights I went a little too far on one in particular, when I've listened to it over and over again, I kind of kept it together, but we all are guilty of it, but they do it over and over. And it's now become, literally it's an fest, and it's a little bit much. So there's my thought on that. Pardon me, microphone. Sorry for all of that, but anyway.
Well, sometimes when I was working CompuBox with Showtime, sometimes they show the replay of the knockout punch. And sometimes on those replays, you could see me at ringside, and I'm going, oh, like I'm reacting to the punch. But I'm not on the air. I'm not commentating. I'm just counting the punches.
Right.
And maybe I hit the connect button a little more forcefully, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But I get your point about you can call the action and with energy, but as long as you're saying something.
And
or
again, I
describing-
would rather want to know what punch it was. Was it a big looping right? Was it a straight right? Was it an uppercut? Was it a, to use the one that they've all fell in love with, was it a check hook?
Yeah.
Rather than, I don't want to do it anymore. I'll blow out my voice here. But
Right,
what's
right.
next? What's next?
Well, what's
Is it
next?
memories and moments, baby?
A little bit of memories and moments and a little bit of a Groves Gripe, you might say. On this day in 1952, and we're going to be seeing on August 2nd, Floyd Patterson, at age 17, he won the Olympic gold medal at the Helsinki Games. And that's the guy right there whose autograph picture you see behind me every week. But here's the thing. He won in the middleweight division, not the heavyweight division. He went on to have a Hall of Fame career, and I am such a big fan of his. I got his book when I was a kid. He was the first two-time heavyweight champion. I love the way he fought. I love the way he conducted himself, and so on and so forth. And after that, names such as Cassius Clay, who became Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Sugar Ray Leonard, and many others have used the Olympic Games as a springboard to fame in the pro game. They got a nice boost coming out of the Olympics. And with the notable exception of Clarissa Shields, that really isn't the case anymore for American fighters. And that's because the amateur game is no longer seen on U.S. television. During the 1970s and 1980s, I remember seeing these U.S. against the world amateur tournaments, U.S. versus Ireland, U.S. versus Russia, U.S. versus South America, or whatever. And we got to see these fighters, and we got to know their stories, and we got to follow them chasing their Olympic dream. And once they got to the Olympics, we knew who they were. We were rooting for them. They got exposure. And in the case of the 76 team that won 5 gold medals, they got a nice booster into the pro game, and they became famous. And some of them even went to the Hall of Fame. But after the 1988 Olympics in Seoul, and that was really the last time boxing was shown on free over-the-air primetime TV, we saw what happened to Roy Jones. And the stench from all the corruption that happened in the 1988 games really soured the networks on covering boxing. And because of that, the exposure of the U.S. Olympians grew less and less and less and less and less, to the point where, the Olympic boxing tournament is going on right now in Paris. And I can't tell you the name of a single member of the American squad. Isn't that sad? And what's even sadder is that boxing was in definite danger of being removed from the Olympic schedule altogether. But last month, the IOC Director General has guaranteed, and that's in quotes, guaranteed that boxing will take place at the 2028 Games in Los Angeles. Now, that's good news because the amateur game has served as a conduit for the professional game. And if that goes away, what will happen to the quality of pro boxers in the future? We have said that boxers haven't really advanced since the 1950s, 60s, and 70s.
In this country.
In this country. What is going to happen if the Olympics are going to be taken away and all that amateur seasoning doesn't take place? The amateur seasoning needs to have a place where you end up, a destination, and the destination is the Olympic Games and a gold medal. Now, an IOC task force has handled the tournament in Tokyo and is handling the tournament in Paris right now. World Boxing, a rival amateur organization, hopes to reach a deal with the International Olympic Committee to organize the future tournament, starting with the 2028 Games. And the IOC president said, quote, "We do not have a problem with boxing, and we do not have a problem with boxers. If we had a problem, there would not have been a competition in Tokyo, and there would not be a boxing competition in Paris. So let's hope that the powers that be do what needs to be done to ensure that boxing will continue to be part of the Olympics for years to come." That's my gripe.
I got you. Well, and it makes a lot of sense. From your gripe to their ears, hopefully.
We hope.
Yeah, we hope. All right. We want to thank everybody for joining us. Tommy Yankello, Regis Prograis. Of course, really hell of a fight card that you'll be watching tomorrow night. Next week, we'll be back to recap it all. So long, everybody.